Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of the Roast in the Ceilings podcast. Today we have with us a guest from Cycle Sustain, Kelly. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you for having me. So, like she said, I'm Kelly, and I'm currently a junior in Pasadena, California. And for Cycle Sustain, I founded this nonprofit organization last year. So I'll be talking more about it today. So, thank you guys for having me.
Alright, so give us your little elevator pitch. What is Cycle Sustain? Like, what is this? What does
So,
your nonprofit do?
Cycle Sustain is really a nonprofit that works towards expanding environmental sustainable practices like around the globe in like day-to-day life. So, we really believe that not only is like environmental sustainability like definitely something that like every person like what no matter like what country you're in, like there's different ways you can target it, but it should also be like a daily practice. Like it doesn't have to be like an entirely new innovation or anything that like you have to take to like make change. It can be like any like action that you can take no matter how small it is or how big it is, as long as you like repetitively like do it and like consistently and with like a good mindset, like try to actively do something, I think it's going to really make a biggest difference.
Could you give us some examples of sustainable practices? What does that look like?
Yeah, so well, I work with like many different schools from like different countries, but I can give like an example of one really big thing is we help like other schools establish like organic recycling programs. So this actually really started with last year when I was pitching this to my local government to do it in my city park. And so the government is like a little bit trickier to like work with. We did like get like a pitch to them, and I like was in talk with like the mayor about doing this and everything, but they were a little bit like worried about like the neighborhood and like the residents. So we're still in works with them on that part, but with other schools, so currently we have established it in 4 different schools. Um, what we basically do is, depending on the school, we either build like community compost hubs. So this came from my volunteer experience with LA Compost, as well as like my organic recycling like knowledge from earlier. But we help them like basically engineer like a organic recycling compost hub, and any other of the funds we like do fundraisers and we raise money to be able to do that, and then we give them like basically we give them like lessons and everything and like the materials they need to engage like all of their students. So for example, I did this with a school in Shanghai, and it was an entire elementary school, and now they're like completely like organically like they have like no organic waste, which I think is really really incredible. And same thing with a school in Rwanda, and they're so that was also a community compost hub. They're like a school K to 12, I believe. So they have like upward like of 1,000 kids, and so seeing that kind of in place and them being able to go from just like all the organic waste going to landfills to now like having it like recycled on site was amazing. And then two other schools I worked with for that were both in Uganda. And yeah, so for them, they're not doing on site recycling because we're also trying out a new like plastic recycling program with them. So we're doing like store separation on the spot. And then they're going to be doing organic recycling like somewhere else. Plastic recycling, we're trying to work on like a school project for that, and trying to do that on campus. But that's currently an ongoing project, so very excited to see how that goes. But that's kind of like the main idea of that. So just getting like more attention. So we give like, I think along with just like designing everything, like laying out like the structure for the entire like building process and funding, and like I think it's a lot about like raising that education and awareness around the importance of it, and for the students to be like engaged and like managing like the volunteer system in like those schools, so that it can be like a self-sufficient system. So that's one. And then another really big one we have is like online like classes. So we have it, one of them like that I've been like working with a lot is called La Fundación Quintanilla Amaya, which is a foundation set up in San Salvador, El Salvador, and they're like they like are like a nonprofit as well, but they like fund children's education and they also do like sustainable like projects. So I've like partnered with them to bring like an ambassador program because actually at the end of the year they have an entire like what is it called? Like a camp. And so their camp has like several hundred students there. So I'm actually training 10 ambassadors to become like leaders of the entire camp and lead sustainable practices. So that's like an ongoing multi-month project. And then the same thing, I'm doing that with like Tutors for Kids, except I'm like hosting competitions. So currently I'm helping to host like two environmental science competitions, one in partnership with Vita Sci-Rise, and then another and Tutors for Kid, and then another in partnership again with Vita Sci-Rise. So that one, those competitions, I'm helping to like prep the students, and the competitions are also like project-based, action-based. Like the end result will be like a poster, but it will be a poster about like their work. So yeah, kind of like coaching them on that, and like other schools too, like a school in Nepal. I've been working with them on like different projects through like classes, and then like end of the class I always like include like an interactive activity that will like help the community in one way or another. So yeah, so those are a couple of things I do.
Those are all so incredible. I'm just wondering, how do you even start with all of this? How do you even start reaching out
Yeah.
to schools like internationally? How do you even start reaching out to
Yeah,
the local
so
government? Like, how do you
for
get
reaching out to schools internationally, actually joined an organization called, I recommend everyone check out this organization. It's amazing. AWIU. So it's called American Women for International Understanding. And it's like a coalition of like a lot of like young women to like older women, and we all come together and they like basically they're like work with like nonprofits and like so many countries on like different projects, but mostly like they're kind of made out of like people that like have like a lot of like funds to give out, so they mostly give out grants, but they've also like recently introduced like a passport program, and that passport program is like matching like youth with like different people, like different like people and like organizations from like different places. So that's how I got matched up with like a Nasi farmers organization in Uganda, and that's how I actually got to work with two of the schools in Uganda on their organic recycling program, and then we're also going to be hosting like a camp for them too, like later on in the year, actually beginning of next year. So that will be kind of like another project with them, but that's kind of how I met them, and they also connected me with a school in Rwanda. And then as for the other schools, um, I'm also doing like an exchange program for a school in Taiwan. But as for the other schools, I met them through like a like, professor that like a family friend knows. She's like a Cal State professor, and she's worked with them. So just like reaching out to people and seeing like if they like know anyone. I'm sure like there's definitely a lot of like great connections out there.
Absolutely incredible. I think we can clearly see how passionate you are about what you do and how passionate you are about the environment and sustainability. And I'm wondering, when did you first discover that passion and how?
Yeah, so this is like my favorite like story to tell, but if you know what, there's a painting of this. My mom painted it. But I am like an equestrian at heart. I've loved horseback riding. I started horseback riding when I was like 7, but like I truly started like much younger. Like I used to have like stuffed animals. I would like pretend I was like horseback riding. Anyways, so through that I like loved the outdoors. Like I loved being around animals and I love nature and everything. And I think it was like probably end of elementary school I started learning about like issues like climate change. And so I became like really passionate about trying to like resolve some of these issues. And like so yeah, so I've like worked with like other like sustainable like I've done like some like research and like helping with like summit planning and everything for like environmental like sustainability. So that was like starting this year with the summit planning, but like before then like I did like research on like the environment, and I like did a lot of like volunteer surrounding that. But I was thinking like I really, really wanted to also work like internationally because I'm also just like I love like reaching like different communities and seeing different perspectives and yeah, so I've always loved like that aspect of like global. So I wanted to like kind of like start some initiative that could like have like a really targeted kind of goal and so it wouldn't just be like I like I love volunteer locally. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I volunteered with like Ella Compost, and it was like a great time. But really wanted to do something to like expand out there, and I hadn't like really seen like a organization that had done that yet. And I really like I was going to like think like I would want to join one, but I couldn't really find one. So I was like, why not start my own and take some action? So that's kind of what I did, and yeah, it's been great. And I still love horseback riding. It's like I just actually when I was saying I was in traffic. I was coming back from horseback riding. Yeah. Yeah, that's basically how I started because of that sport.
That's like such a good like origin story. I love that you have a story to pull out.
I know, and like
Yeah.
the painting, like okay, this one it's like my mom drew it. It's like not exactly accurate because it's like I'm jumping over nothing. It's supposed to be probably like an
Your
obstacle.
mom drew it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Wow.
insane. That's
she's like
insane.
an artist.
Yeah,
I
that's
am not, unfortunately, but yeah, she's an artist.
yeah. Well, that means it's just like, initiative runs in the family, I guess. But like I'm wondering, you're doing all these things, and we've heard a little bit about you talking about your struggles with contacting like a local government. Are there any other big like roadblocks you've experienced throughout your time with Cycle Sustain?
Any other what like
Like
challenges?
roadblock, yeah, like challenges,
Oh
anything
yeah.
for you to overcome.
Yeah, I would say so for sure. I like, well, definitely like connecting with like internationally, like it's difficult. Like there are like definitely language barriers that will sometimes occur. So honestly, this has been a great opportunity for me to like expand my language as well. Cause like for example, the organization in San Salvador, like they mostly do speak in Spanish. And then in Nepal, they speak in like Nepalese. So it's been and like obviously like other languages as well, but like those are like a couple examples. And so like that's been like in the beginning I kind of like struggled with that. I was like kind of scared that like I was like, oh, like what if like they think like, this is like kind of like wasting like their time because like now they have to like, you know, like be patient with me as I try to like learn the language. So Spanish, it's been great because I've been learning that since middle school, so it wasn't too big of an issue. But like Nepalese was kind of hard. Like I had never learned that language before, but I was here with like my English. But um, he's like the like founder of the school, and he's also like a super great like teacher, and he loves his students and he's absolutely amazing, but he helped to be like a translator during our lessons. So and then I've also like learned a bit about the language, so I think this has been like such an amazing experience to learn so many different languages. I think it's just like yeah, but I've like learned more about the language, so now I can give like part of the lesson actually like in that language, and then like he will like also help translate. So I think that's really like just trusting other people, like that like they will be like kind to you, they will be compassionate, like they know like it might be like not your like first language and stuff, but like reach out there and connect with these people, and like people are nicer than you think. So I think that's one thing that I really took away with that is that like it's okay to trust people. And yeah.
It's so beautiful to me how globally minded you are and how willing you are to open yourself up to new perspectives. And that is really such a valuable skill and mindset to have. And I think that would be great if you gave some advice for the young girls listening who might have a little speck of an idea of what
Yeah.
they might want to take initiative on, but aren't sure how to get there.
Yeah, I would say definitely like okay, so honestly, it's really in the beginning, like it's really I think the first step might be the hardest step to take.
Mm.
Like sometimes I remember like in the beginning of sophomore year, I was just thinking about it, I was like, this is like a lot to like take on. Like what if like it doesn't work? Like am I just like wasting like my time? But then really after you take that first step, like just reaching out, like everything just flows from there. Like you have that first step, and then people like then you can reach out to so many other people. Like the hardest step is the first step because at that point, like you're not really like you don't really have any background in this, so people aren't really sure like if like you're kind of like reliable. But I would say for the first step, like find a place to start where like you feel confident at. So whether there should be like a club at your school or like in your local community, like start there. Like that's where like I kind of started. Like I started with like my local community, like reaching out to like the government. And then after like doing that, like I again was like reaching out through familiarity because I had already worked with like um AWIU. So like that was kind of like a familiarity aspect that I knew. Like obviously it was like meeting like new schools and everything, but like I knew them. And then after that, it's like you just feel so much more confidence because you have that in place. Like people like know your name like a slightly bit more. Like you can like tell like your story and then they'll like know your confidence. So I think definitely for the first step, like find somewhere like you're comfortable with and just get it off the ground and it'll be like amazing. And then another thing is like don't be scared to like reach out for help. Like sometimes I just feel like, oh, like if I like, like ask someone to like help me organize like this like fundraising event, like I'm burdening someone else. But really like if you like are able to like make like this organization really have a strong purpose, like people aren't going to be like not wanting to help you out. It's like when you're passionate about something, like the passion will really resonate with the other person as well. And then like I think my last piece of advice would be like there are going to be roadblocks, but like eventually like you're gonna get over these roadblocks. Like this is like a passion that you're carrying out. It's not something you have to do. And
Mm-hmm.
so like in those moments of roadblocks, like take a time and like don't stress out. Like think about like where you're at now and like be grateful for like the path that you've already taken. Like it's already like gone so far. And then just really like reach out to the person. Like I remember like sometimes like I would have like internet issues or like they would be having internet issues and like we couldn't connect for like a week and then I would be like stressed out. I'd be like, oh no, like they have to like they have a competition like they need to do like we're gonna like like run out like our deadline time. And like really at that point like it's okay. Like they understand, like you understand, like it's really like just don't overthink it. It's definitely something that is really important and is something I've learned with this organization. So yeah, those are probably my 3 points of advice. Sorry, that took a while.
No worries. That was all great advice. You know what? The more the merrier, right? I think that's how the saying goes. Thank you so much, Kelly, for coming on and talking to us. Like, you said so much insightful things today, and I'm sure everyone is going to take that with them. Is there anything you just want to shout out about Cycle Sustain? Anything you want to promote for everyone listening in?
Yeah, for Cycle Sustain, well, we do have a competition coming up with Tutors for Kids. So if you're in grades 4 to 6, we have a really big STEM competition coming up, environmental science project, and another poster project competition. And we're always looking for new volunteers, new teachers to help us out with these lessons. And if you're interested in like engineering or like design or anything like that, like we'll love you to have on like organic recycling like projects. So yeah, if you guys are like interested, like please feel free to reach out with CycleSustain or like I think my email is like cyclesustain.mpo@gmail.com. So you guys can reach out there. But yeah, that would probably and we're on Insta as well. So but thank you so much for having me on today. This was amazing. So
Thank you so much.
thank you.